what do you do now?
Well, I guess I'm just a race director now. This has become kind of a full-time gig. I used to be in the limousine industry for 6 years. Before then, I was running with the Nike farm team as an Olympic hopeful. I was hoping to run the mile in the Olympics, and Nike picked me up. I lived at, they had apartments for us right outside of Stanford University, literally on University Avenue, which was great because it was right around the time that Facebook was being created. I think there's something in that water in the Silicon Valley that really makes you understand the internet, social media, everything, you know? It's because when you understand social media and how to be in touch with, I don't even like to call them fans, I call them friends, you know, because they're all your friends on even a fan page. And so focusing all my attention on that is what's kind of helped increase the participation and the success of this event.
Is this the first year?
First year. Over 10,000 people run it first year. People are saying that's unheard of for a first year event, especially from an unknown race promoter. You know, I host little small 500 to 1,000 person events in San Diego. So to now come out first year, 10,000 people, now everyone is saying, who is Ken Nwadike? Who is Superhero Events? Where did this come from? You know, and so it's just really been a blessing.
Explain superhero events.
Well, I've always...
Because I'm showing a picture while you tell me.
All right, all right. Well, superhero events, I guess even as a kid, you know, you kind of always wish that superheroes really exist. That at some point someone's going to come to your aid and take you out of this rut that you're in. And just knowing that there's not, you know, I figured through these running events, it takes superheroes to go out and accomplish these crazy feats of, I mean, when you see someone who's been bedridden or couch-ridden for years, they're overweight, and they just decide, you know what, I'm going to run a 5K. I'm going to go and run a half marathon or this or that. That's that superhero mentality that it takes to get up and go and do that. So the superhero portion, it's not just how we feel as a staff, but it's also what we feel all of the participants are to the event as well. So, I mean, technically I view it as 10,000 superheroes are about to come out and run this Hollywood Half Marathon because a portion of their race entries go to support charities like this, like the Covenant House. It's all that superhero mentality. You're helping the less fortunate through you coming out and running. So the name just makes sense.
That is a superhero.
It really is. That's what you do. You help people that are in need. That's it, you know?
So your first statement that superheroes don't really exist is incorrect.
That is true. That's very true. No, they do. They do exist. And they exist in all of the people that go out and they support these events who sometimes people don't even know that they're supporting a charity by going out to run an event. It's all part of the package.
People that are, especially in LA,
right,
a mile and a half away from Covenant House, seriously,
yes,
only a mile and a half away from Covenant House, in any direction, in any direction. Many don't even know it exists. Right, right. It can be that close and that far away.
It's true. Drive past it every day and just wonder what is Covenant House, you know? And it's crazy because there's a lot of people that even have a heart to support these sort of charities and shelters, but they just don't know where to even start. How can I get out and help some of these people? So it's almost like being able to bring it to them. Hey, you've always wanted to help? Well, here you go. I know you like sporting events. I know you like fitness. Here's your opportunity.
And here's a little reminder that this place is
here. Exactly.
And that there are people that need this place.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because you can't, even if you know about this place, you can forget about it.
Oh, easily.
You know, you get caught up.
Of course.
You may have kids that are 18 months and 6 years old.
Yes.
For instance.
Very true. Very true. You know, and just like what you were saying earlier about is it a distant memory for me? I think it's the reason why it can never be a distant memory. It's because I'm always going to have that heart to want to help the people that are in this same situation. Because I remember when I was living at the Gramercy shelter with my family, my favorite time that I had there was the book reading time. And it would be people from the local community, and they would come down and they would pick a story each week or over a 2-week period, and they would read that story to us. And I think at the time I might have been 11 or 12 years old. And with all the mess and the chaos that we were going through at the time, sometimes not knowing how we were going to eat or where our clothes were going to come from. I remember being able to just get lost in this person reading this story. And that's how I fell in love with the story, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This guy comes down, he might have only been in his 20s. I don't know if he was just volunteering his time. I wish I could even find the guy now to thank him, because it was an escape for me. When someone can actually just come down, read a story to you. I didn't need much. I didn't need it. I didn't care even about the food sometimes. I can get lost. I felt like I was a character in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It became my favorite story for the rest of my life, just because someone cared that much. Let me just go down and read to these kids, you know? And so a lot of times it's not about money, or it's not about giving someone this or that. Just care that we're here, or that we're going through these sort of things, you know? And it can influence a person's life. It can make the difference of, am I going to go outside and get in trouble and do something to vent all of my frustration, or can I release that just in going in the fantasy world, reading this story, you know?
What was the most difficult part?
Of putting the race together, or...
Of being on, not on the street,
but back out here like that. Oh, man.
Do you remember what you hated most?
I think the hardest part for me was how it affected me academically. We had, at the shelter that we were at, there was a lights out hour, which never made sense to me. It was at 7 o'clock. And while trying to be an athlete in high school, you know, you get out of school at 3 o'clock. So from 3 o'clock till about 5:30, I'm practicing my sport. So I'm out there at track practice. 5:30, by the time I get on the trolley to get back home, take public transportation, whether I rode the bus that day or a buddy dropped me off. By the time I get home, it's 6 o'clock. I eat. I've got, 30 minutes. I've got to finish my homework before it's lights out. They come in, they check on all the doors and make sure all the lights are out. Now, at the time, my family, in the shelter that we were at, it was all of us in one room, 6 of us. 5 kids, all the kids in my family, and then my mom. So 6 of us in this little, what was like a hotel room that we lived for a long time, you know. And so when they have lights out, I remember that really frustrating us, because you've got 5 kids in here trying to do your homework and having to hide the light. We would actually pick up candles when we were out and have to hide the light so they can't see it under the door, or they come and bang on the door. It's lights out, you know. It's 7 o'clock. The rest of the world doesn't even go to sleep till 10. And here I am, I have to go to bed at 7. I never understood why. And I'm in high school. How can I do my homework?
Right.
You know, so I would have to get up really early and be able to finish my homework on the bus. And of course, a lot of times I wasn't able to finish my homework. And so when you have to hide to your school teachers or your friends when they say, well, how come you didn't finish your homework? And you know why you couldn't finish it, but of course you can't say that. It's embarrassing.
So
you know?
Was it a secret?
Of course it was a secret. There's no way you could let something like that out in high school. It would have ruined me, you know? So it's...
So how did you live that deception all the time?
It was difficult.
That had to wear you down.
It was really difficult. Friends were never able to come hang out with me after school. And the craziest part about the whole thing was I started to become a great athlete through using sports to... again, get away, you know, because now at the time when I'm older, where people aren't coming down and reading stories to me, I needed a new way to vent. I needed a new way to release my frustrations. The fact that I've been in and out of shelters with my family since probably late elementary school all the way up till high school. And it's not like my mom was on drugs or anything crazy. You know, we were good people. It's just, it was tough. There's a lot of kids in our family. Dad wasn't around. We lived in LA at one of the toughest times it was to be in LA. We were here during the Rodney King riots. We were here, during the OJ trial and the earthquakes. LA was a mess back then, you know, and so it was just really tough for people to find stability in a place where all the stores are being looted and burned up and everything was just really crazy. It was really tough to find work. And so that had us hopping in and out of shelters, never finding stability. So you get to high school now, knowing that you've been homeless the majority of all of junior high school, the late portion of elementary, and then all throughout high school. So it was kind of hidden because that instability caused us to need to change schools every year. Every year, from late elementary to high school, I was in a different school every single year. The only time that I stayed in a school 2 years was my junior and senior year in high school. And it was primarily because at that point I put my foot down. I said, Mom, I've gotten good at this track thing now, you know, and if I move, I have to go start all over somewhere else. My team needs me, you know, we're going to win the league championships, and so I needed that.
Your life needs
My life needs this. A scholarship, everything depends on this now. I'm sure college coaches didn't want to see the instability of, well, you were never in the same school twice, you know, and so having to keep that as a secret. The only person that knew what we were going through was my high school counselor and eventually my track coach. And it was because there was a time when he was going to kick me off of the track team because I didn't want to run the distance that he wanted me to run. And we ended up having a parent-coach conference, and I was there. And so my mom finally let that out to my coach, and it became one of those I had no idea type of thing, you know, and I didn't want sympathy.
Exactly.
I just wanted to keep playing my sport the way I was playing it, you know. But I do appreciate him for that, because he did eventually force me to run the mile, which I found out was a better event for me, and I became really great at that. So I was able to walk a lot more confidently versus if you would have met me in high school, I don't even think I could have had this sort of conversation with you, because I was just so shy. I wouldn't, there was...
Well, you were used to keeping the secrets.
You have to, since elementary school, junior high, high school, so everything is a secret. You know, in high school, during lunch break, and at this time, I'm a star athlete. I went undefeated my junior year and my senior year in the mile. We won our league championships for cross country. I ended up becoming league champion in the mile. And even still, with being a star athlete, lunchtime, I never hung outside with all the rest of the kids. I hung inside my history teacher's classroom trying to finish all of my homework to make sure I can beat it before lights out, you know, or before lights out. So it was just really tough not being able to be that social, because one, you're keeping a secret that you don't want to get out to the school. And then two, for necessity. I needed to finish my homework. I needed to make sure that my grades were on point.
You couldn't even enjoy being a star athlete.
No, not at all. Not at all. It was never, there was never glamorized.
To that.
Of course there are. I could have had a girlfriend. I could have had a lot of things. But how can you have a girlfriend if, you know, you're going home to a homeless shelter? There's nothing that I had that I felt I can impress anyone with. There was nothing that I had except I can run the mile fast. And to me, I didn't understand how that even really benefited me outside of, well, I can get to college on this. And I felt that making it to college was finally going to be my way to not have to deal with what I've dealt with my entire life. I just need to get to college. That was my primary goal, my number one goal. Just get to college. A dorm is better than a shelter. Same size as a shelter. You know, it's literally...
It's one or two people.
Two people. It's not your whole family. It's not you having to fight your sister or your brothers for space in
and there's
there.
No lights out.
There's no lights out in a dorm. It's lights on because you need to finish your homework. You know,
so where did you go?
I ended up going to Cal State San Marcos. I got accepted to UCLA. I got accepted to USC, but USC, I couldn't get a full ride scholarship there. And eventually I wanted to be closer to my family, so I decided to stay in San Diego. And even better, Steve Scott, who held the American mile record and is still known as the greatest miler in America, came down to watch me at a race and decided to offer me a scholarship to stay in San Diego because he took a coaching position at Cal State San Marcos. So I ended up going there, and it worked out. I was there a few years, and eventually just all of the difficulty that I dealt with my studies growing up, it really started to show in college. It just became really tough, and I figured, well, I might be a better entrepreneur than I would be with going through getting my degree and trying to find a job. You know, I felt like there's too much in my past that might make it a little bit difficult to find the right job. You know?
But here's what you did do. You took all of it.
Right.
And did this with it.
Packaged it. Definitely.
I mean, yeah. Not everybody does that.
No.
Not everybody does it successfully, where you can take your abilities,
right,
and your past and your struggles and put it all together. And in the case of this run, pay it backwards, pay it forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I know what they need because I needed it.
Right.
I know how I can help because I can run.
Of course. Of course.
And I don't know how you got your organizational skills.
Yeah.
Maybe from all the things you were struggling with to keep secrets and to hide.
Yeah.
All the talents you developed as a what do you want to call it? I want to say a dodgeball guy.
Right.
Where you just kind of like, you gotta try to keep all those secret balls in the air.
Yeah, pieces of the puzzle.
Made you an entrepreneur being able to keep other kinds of balls in the air, you know?
I think so. I think
Did I just go crazy on you?
No, I totally got what you were saying. No, I totally, because I think that's what it was. When you have all these different components that you're trying to juggle from youth, you know, when your dad is not around by the time you're age 8 and you're the oldest boy in the family, you take on a lot of responsibilities as dad. I remember even just as a kid, before I was able to reach the stove or be playing on the stove, we needed to learn how to cook our own meals, because with 5 kids in the household, mom's got to be at work. So it was literally my sister and I. My sister is a year older than me. We were having to figure out how we're going to take care of the other kids in the house, you know. So we're really standing on chairs to cook on the stove. We're standing on chairs to wash the dishes before mom gets back, you know? And so there was a lot of things that from youth or from childhood we had to learn early. And so I think that when you put all of those things together with kind of starting your adult life in your childhood, and then through just all of the organization that needed to be in place to keep things in order in your life, I think that's how it all came together this way, you know. And so to be able to look at, like you said, all of the things that they need here, because I'm a product of that, you know. And so when I understand what helped me and how that can help a kid here,
and what you could have used that you didn't,
that I didn't get, of course, you know. And again, one of the biggest things that I thought was there, or that was necessary, was awareness. We're here. We're struggling, you know, and we could use help. We don't need much. Hey, if you can read me a story, it gets me away from what I'm dealing with. It's not always about money. We just need people to acknowledge that, hey, we're here. Not every homeless person that you see is homeless because of alcohol abuse or drug abuse or any of those things, you know. To us, it was difficulty with my mom finding work, and there was a lot of children in the household.
And that's, I mean, honestly, more so today than ever.
Of course.
That can be the story.
Of course. You know how hard it is for people to find work even now?
It's easy for us to say, oh, they're just drug addicts.
Of course. Of course.
Even a drug addict. I mean, I'm not, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That some people,
they all need help, of course, but people just walk past them, you know. But what a lot of people don't understand is that I think the majority of homeless cases are not because of alcohol abuse or drug abuse. Statistics might tell you that, but if you actually hang out around the homeless people, I mean, I've met a lot of them growing up in those places that I was at, and if you listen to most of their stories, work was tough. I didn't have enough education to get the job that was necessary for me to provide for my family, you know. And of course, some people would say, well, then why'd you have so many kids? Well, things weren't always bad, you know. Things weren't bad when we were living in a house and everything was great, but eventually divorce happens, you know. And when the divorce happened, then things became really tough because it wasn't 2 parents' income. Right. And then when it's only 1 parent, how do you balance raising your children and going to work? There has to be that give and take, you know. So of course we spent a lot of time trying to figure things out on our own so that our mom can be at work, but she lost a lot of jobs.
Way too much for you. It made you who you are, right?
It really did. And you know, strangely, I wouldn't trade any of what I went through, because like you said, it brought me to where I am right now, and I feel like I have a great understanding of how I can help the sort of the people that went through this, or not that went through, that are going through right now the same things that I went through. And if that's the only reason why God had me go through all of those things in my life, you know, then it happened for the right reason, and I'm okay with it, because I know that through some of these events that I'll be able to put together to help shed some light on these places, that allows me to be a superhero, you know. And so it all comes back, and so yeah, so it helps me.
So this is run 1 of A series of them?
There will be a series of them. I think from here we're going to go to Hollywood, Florida, where I feel like there's...
Then you don't have to change the shirt.
No, yeah, we still run Hollywood. No, yeah, it all stays the same. All the branding is the same. I don't have to duplicate it. So yeah, it does.
Genius.
Yeah, no, you should work with me. We'll go saving the world together.
One Hollywood at a time.
Yeah, one Hollywood at a time. No, Hollywood, Florida, I think it's going to be great. It's coastal, so it's not so city-like out there, but I know that in Florida, people deal with the same poverty issues that they deal with out here. Everyone assumes, oh, the weather's great out there, and everything is just so amazing, just like what brings people here to Hollywood, and they end up broke. Everyone feels, oh, California weather is great. If I get to Hollywood, I'll be a star. Not the case. You're not going to get here and be a star. It's not that easy for most people. And so they come here with these dreams of grandeur and find themselves homeless on the streets and needing help. You know.
How do you feel about yourself?
Right now, I'm happy. I'm really happy. It's been a challenge putting this thing together, especially putting it together with my pregnant wife. You know, so for the last 9 months, we've been working on this event. And literally, she's been pregnant from the day that we started working on this event to the baby is due 3 days after the event.
That's why she has that look like, I'm going to kill you.
Of course. Like, why did we choose this date to try and do this? But the timing, I think, was all great, you know, and maybe I just feel like, you know, really God allows things to happen the way they do for a reason, you know, and maybe this whole nurturing and taking care of this race, to me, I'm supposed to be viewing it the same way with this baby that's in my wife's womb right now, and just being able to nurture something and raise it up right, because I don't want this event to go away, you know, so you give it that care and attention as though you would a child.
How have you, and I don't, there must be more than Steve Carlston from NBC.
Right.
That's said, oh, cool. I mean, what does it make you feel like when you get that kind of response from a company?
From people that understand this?
Yeah. I mean, that must just like...
It lets me know that I'm doing the right thing, you know.
You knew it anyway.
I didn't know it anyway.
You didn't?
Not at all. No, not when every single race, or the majority of races that are out there, they all support cancer research, leukemia research, and all these different things, but we're missing the fact that there's people that are homeless that we're running right past while we're helping someone with cancer or charity or leukemia or any of these things, you know. And so I felt that by doing this, I didn't know that people would really support it or care, you know. Of course, you want people to have the same passion that you do for it, but you can't. How do you get that out there to people? And so I felt like the fact that I've been through that, and maybe people who see me as a regular guy or see me as a nice guy can understand, hey, that's a real person that went through that, you know. And if you heard it coming from me and you felt like I was a cool guy, you might be more inclined to help, you know, because you felt like, well, he's a nice guy, he's not on drugs, he's not drinking, I'd help him, but I wouldn't help that guy. Well, that guy has the same story that I do. You just haven't spoke to him yet. He's probably a nice guy.
Or, you mean I can help by running? Well, I can do that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's easy. That's easy. I don't have to give you money. I'll just sign up to run. Well, you gave them money anyway. Good job. So, I mean, it's great, you know. So I didn't think people would get it in the beginning, but I think they do now.
And what does that feel like?
Amazing. Amazing. I love that feeling. I love knowing that, wow, I was able to help. That one man has now spread into about 10,000 people who are now supporting this event. So it really goes to show that one person can stand up and say, hey, I'm going to try and make a difference. And it spread. One man who was at one point homeless, I dropped out of college. You know, I definitely don't have the
great resume
at all to be doing any of this, and that's why.
Yeah, you do.
Yes,
you have the life resume,
and it really worked out. And that's why when Steve told me, and when that comes from the president of NBC, who says to you, the chances of you being successful in this world, and this was during all this lotto stuff that was going on next week, he said the chances of you being successful in this world are just as rare as whoever's going to win this lottery right now. And so he's like, what you just did, it's kind of a big deal, you know, because you're not supposed to be successful, and right now it seems like you are. So I mean, so when you hear that, that's great. When you realize, wow, that I'm being recognized by someone as the president of NBC to say, yeah, I think you're successful right now at this. It's a great feeling, you know, and I think that all came from the support of all of these people who said, yeah, Ken, we hear what you're trying to do, and we appreciate your cause, and we're going to back you up on this, and we're going to come run Hollywood.
It gives you a little wind at your back for Hollywood, Florida.
In all the events, the next Hollywood for next year, you know, because there'll be better planning that's going to go into it. Once we know how this thing is going to go down on Saturday. Yes, you know, oh man, there's been so much that I've dealt with over the last 9 months. That's a whole nother story in itself. But I think once we get through this, and of course, I mean, a first-year event, there's always going to be some issues. There'll be mistakes, and as long as people understand, hey, there hasn't been a Hollywood half marathon before. It's a learning experience for us. How
long is a half marathon?
13.1 miles.
Okay.
Yep, 13.1. You can do it.
No, I can't.
Yeah, you can. That was a quick no, I can't.
You can push me.
All right.
Can you push me?
I can push you in a wheelchair.
And where do I know where the route is?
It's going to start at Universal City Walk.
Okay.
Come down Cahuenga, Highland, turn on Hollywood Boulevard. We'll run all of Hollywood Boulevard down to Sunset, and then go back up, finishing near Universal Studios. Yeah, so it's a cool course.
And how can people still become a part of this? Are the runners all signed up, or can you still run?
The 5K, 10K has sold out. The half marathon, probably by the time this thing airs, will be sold out. So I don't think people will be able to run. Yeah, yeah.
But how can they donate?
Okay, that's good. That's good. See, they can go on to the HollywoodHalfMarathon.com, and the first tab that shows up, there's a fundraise button, and they can go through and see some of the charities.
How many races are involved in this?
Right now, it's...
Did you say 3?
Yes.
Did you say 3?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's the half marathon, then there's the 5K and 10K, the Hollywood 5K, 10K, and then there's a kids run, too. Okay. You know, and so...
And most of those are sold out as far as runners registration?
Yeah. Oh, and there's an elite wheelchair division, too.
Good.
Yes.
God.
Oh, I know. I've taken on a lot for a first-year event, but...
what you want to include as many...
Everyone. As a dad, I need my kids to run. You know, kids need to stay fit too. You can't have mom and dad out running and nothing for the kids, you know. But then you also need that wheelchair division, because you want everyone to be able to participate. You want the people who can't run 13.1 miles like yourself. You want them to be. You want them.
A little secret.
You want them to be able to run the 5K or 10K.
So I forgot to ask you this question. I want to ask you this question too. As a dad,
yes,
with healthy, good-looking, well-behaved, almost too well-behaved, kind of scared kids, your light went out, dude. Then we were.
Oh, I thought that was the wrap it up light.
Wow.
No.
Got another one? Can you adjust? Well, let me. As you can tell, my question's kind of rambling.
No worries. Oh yeah, no, but it's good. No, I love it.
There must be part of you that's like, I don't ever want you to know the kind of life I had to live.
At all.
And yet, at some point, I want you to know the life I had to live. But right now, I just want to keep you as far away from even that possibility as I possibly can. You're not even going to get close to that.
Yeah, I don't want my children to ever experience what I went through. But I want them to understand how it can affect someone's life, how much it affected Dad's life. When we were driving up here to the Covenant House today, and you know, it's funny because you don't know that your kids are ever listening to you. And I remember I was having a conversation with my wife, and we were talking about the Covenant House, but we never explained to my daughter what the Covenant House was. And we were driving up, and
she's at that very spongy age.
Of course,
6.
She's soaking in everything that you say. Yes. So she says, as we're driving up, so Dad, so this is a homeless shelter where kids like me live. I said, I don't think they're as young as you, but yeah, they're homeless. She goes, so they don't have a house outside, but this is a house for all of them. And I said, yeah. And then she said, that sucks. And I was like, why? She said, because they don't have a mom or a dad, you know, and people need to understand that. If a 6-year-old can understand that that sucks, you know, that these kids are in here and this is home for them. I like that she's aware of it. I don't ever want her to experience that, ever, you know, not with me in a shelter or not by herself in a shelter. So yes, there's that protection of, I've got to work hard, I've got to do everything possible in my life to make sure that my kids won't experience that, my wife won't experience that. But at the same time, I want them to know that that sucks, because I want them to grow up with the same type of passion to help that I have for it. And of course, my motivation and my passion is because I lived it. They won't live that, but I still want them to have the same heart for it. I want them to be able to say, my dad experienced that, I'm gonna help, because I don't like that people are experiencing that, you know?
Where did your good dad stuff come from? Because you didn't have a good dad.
I definitely didn't. It came from not wanting to be that. You know, as a kid, as an 8-year-old kid, having to stand on a chair to cook your own meal or to make top ramen noodles or whatever, and even back then, I remember always telling myself, I would never put my kids through this.
Really?
I'm gonna do everything that I can to be the best and coolest dad, even back then, at 8. I think that's why I wanted to get married young. If you were to have met me back in college, I was hoping I was gonna meet someone and get married back then. I wanted to start a family at a very young age, because I wanted to correct the wrong. I wanted to see that, well, it was rough for me, and I want to give someone better than that. And at the time, I was doing really great at running. I was on a track scholarship. I felt like I was somewhat stable in my life. I had a job. Of course, getting married back then wouldn't have been a good idea. I'm glad I waited until my late 20s. But I think it really came from when you have an idea of what. I don't want to. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to say he's a bad dad. He just wasn't around, right. You know. And so.
That qualifies.
Of course, as a bad dad. Okay, well then he was a bad dad then. No, but that's absent, what it was.
Not
of
so
course,
good.
You were absent. And so, by him not being in my life, I knew what I didn't want for my kids. I knew that, okay, as long as I'm the opposite of what he did, then I'll be a good dad. And that was all it took, you know?
It's like, let me go down the list of don'ts.
Exactly.
And I'm good.
And there we go, you know? Because I had a great mother, and that's what really helped me through life, is that my mom, you know, she worked very hard to provide for her 5 kids. I don't even think she had to take all 5 of us, but she knew that they're better off with me struggling than to be with dad, you know, or to be left with an aunt or an uncle. So I really feel like she sacrificed herself to take care of her 5 kids and make sure that we were provided for, you know. And so to be at this point now where I can say, thanks, Mom, and everything that you instilled in me to do right, I'm doing it, you know. And I never went to jail. I never abused alcohol. I never abused drugs. I never even used drugs, you know. So to know that all the odds were against me, but she stayed firm to make sure, no, I'm gonna raise 5 great kids. None of her kids have gone to jail. None of her kids are on drugs. How'd you do that out of a homeless shelter? You know, my mom should be the one doing this story right now, because she's a superhero, you know? And I think that's why I've really kept this whole superhero thing around me, because I feel like I've met superheroes and angels all throughout my life. You know, the guy who used to read me the books at the homeless shelter, that was an angel there, because he knew what all the kids in that shelter were going through back then, and he would take time probably out of his busy schedule. I'm just gonna go read to these kids. He wasn't being paid for it. You know, he's just coming down. They need it. And maybe it was an escape for him too from something that he was going through. Who knows, you know? But all that matters was that he was an angel or he was a superhero. And so if other people can pick that up and say, hey, I might not have a lot of money to be able to help these people. I don't have a lot of money to help these people, but I did something. And now it's going to eventually build up to be something bigger than what I even imagined it could have been. And that's really all it takes, is to be able to get up and say, hey, I don't have much, but I'm going to help. And it's working. So it's important that people realize that. You don't have to be a millionaire to come out and help or pledge money for something. Just do what you can. It might be bigger than you think, you know?
How proud are you?
think
you haven't taken the time to be proud of yourself.
Yeah, it's hard to really soak it in just yet because the event hasn't happened. I got to make sure that I execute and deliver a good event. All eyes are on me right now this Saturday. So, yeah, I can't say I'm proud of anything yet until it's all said and done. I could say that I'm proud of...
You know what?
What's that?
And when it's all said and done, you'll be probably concentrating on the next
On the next one.
You got to take time to be proud of where you are right now.
Yeah. It's tough, too, though. I'm sure my cell phone is ringing like crazy right now. My email is going nuts. You don't have time to take any of that in. I think the first slow moment that I'll get is probably 2 or 3 days after the event when I'm sitting in the hospital holding my new baby, you know.
2 or 3 days?
Yes, it's that close to the event, you know. I think that will be the first time I'll be able to say we did it, you know, because I feel like they come as one, you know, the birth of this race and the birth of the child. When they're both here and they're both safe and they're both successful, I'll say I'm proud at that point.
Okay, promise?
You know, promise.
You'll take that moment?
I will call you and I will say, hey man, I'm proud right now, Kerry. I'm really excited right now. I got my baby here. This event is great. I'm happy right now, you know, and I think that'd be a proud moment. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call Steve. You know, NBC is gonna know that Ken is proud right now that he pulled this thing off. So,
excellent job. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
We have a documentary.